Blizzard, let's chat!
What's up guys, Crone here bringing you another episode of Blizzard Let's Chat, where we do PvP discussion and I also take questions from you guys and answer them. In today's episode we're going to talk about some of the stuff that happened with the 5.3 patch notes. First up I'm going to talk about hunters. Basically they changed aspect of the hawk and they increased the ranged attack power by 25% up from 15%, so that's a 10% increase in damage, like pretty much flat all across. You know, actually probably maybe a little bit less, maybe it's about 9% or whatever, because you got the base damages and stuff which doesn't scale off it, so you have like every move has a base damage and then you have the attack power that adds on, so you know, maybe it's a bit less. But why would you buff a class that's already like the best? Sort of like you know, like why would it doesn't make sense to me that they're buffing hunters when hunters are probably, like, let's just look at it like this, right? 5.1 best one of the best classes, hunters. You know who was the best? Warriors, right? But Beast Cleave, no, KFC best comp in 5.1. 5.2 comes through. Oh, you know what's the best thing right now? And it's like, well, you know, still KFC. 5.3 comes around. All right, warriors get nerfed enough that they aren't the best thing out there. But hunters kind of, you know, still go pretty much untouched, and they are the best class again, because they buffed Power Shot. Why would you buff something, you know, there already was that, like, I can understand making Power Shot viable, but, you know, like, this is just mad, because hunters are the best, like, by a wide, stupid high margin again, best class. You know, and then they're in Fog Cleave, which is also the best comp at the moment right now. So it's like, I wouldn't mind if hunters was like, oh, we have a few comps we're viable in, that's fine, and it's whatever, but we don't have any overpowered comps. But like, they get this trinket proc, right? So they like, everyone's running this trinket, the Shadow Pan trinket, and rogues and hunters both scale off it really well because it's like they have a 30% increase in agility. They come out the gates, they hit a couple buttons, the trinket procs, and then he hits Power Shot and you die. And you don't have any choice. There's like a video of it. I linked to Linker, who's like the PvP dev guy. He hasn't replied yet, but I'm like just sitting there thinking to myself, what this, like the trinket, right? They've said they're going to nerf that trinket, right? The Shadow Pan trinket. They said they're going to nerf that. The funniest thing about them saying they're going to nerf that is they gave you the numbers what they're going to nerf it to. It's the other trinket, right? Is still going to be worse. The other trinket, right, I'm saying this again so you can just get this through your head as well as I have. The other trinket, right, so the PvP trinket, the one you get from actually doing PvP, is still going to give less agility when you use it than the other trinket, the Shadow Pan one. Like, do you see what I'm saying? It's like, because it's just mind-boggling to me. Like, the current one gives like 1,600. There's a forum thread, someone's posted about it. Like 1,600, and the other one, the Shadow Pan one, about 5k something. And it's like, what the hell are you doing, Blizzard, right? PvE trinkets, when they come into PvP, should not be able to proc. You can have the base stats on them, that's fine. But it's a PvP area, and do you know what? I don't want PvE affecting PvP. The same as if I was to go into a raid in PvP gear and PvP power was to work on bosses and stuff, and I just stacked a load of it and I beat everyone on the damage meters. Do you know what would happen straight away? You'd get every single person in that raid being like, what the hell? Why is he allowed to come in here with all this PvP gear on and do more damage than us? We raid all the days, every day of the week. What the hell? And it's exactly the opposite. And do you know what? Blizzard have never done that. There's never been one time when the best DPS spec and the gear and stuff has come from PvP. It's always been the opposite way around. And do you know what? Like, they just need to say no, and that's it. Like, I would, if it was me and I was on their end, I'd say, right, all of the PvP gear, we're going to take it and we're going to say, look, it doesn't have agility, doesn't have strength, doesn't have intellect, doesn't have spirit, right? It has none of those things. It has one, like, 2 stats or whatever, right? You have one for mana regen stuff. There's PvP mana regen. So if you get into a fight in PvP, your spirit just turns off. And the same with thing, it's like PvP power would basically be all of your damage or whatever. You'd have like a stat like your strength and agility or whatever, or intellect would all be one same gem type, and then that would be like how you work it out. So if you come into PvP from PvE and it's like, oh, I've got an agility trinket, it doesn't actually do anything in PvP. just wouldn't do anything, because that way you don't have it crossing over. Because apparently they're too stupid to actually just say, look, we're banning the trinkets, or look, if you come into PvP from PvE, the trinket doesn't do as much as it would. You know, they said there's going to scale down the eye level. Not going to do fuck all, Blizz. Like, it's not going to do any, right? It needs to be basically shit. It needs to be shit, but still okay, right? That's what it needs to be, and it's not, right? I reckon that, you know, the trinket proc, and it gives you a certain amount of stuff, like it gives you a certain amount of agility or whatever. That needs to be PvP power. That needs to be PvP power, and it needs to give you a, like, 30% increase in damage or something like that. And then nerf everyone's damage down a bit, makes it mandatory then, because when you want to do damage, you need to use that. And then an agility, don't even bother letting the trinket in. Just don't. It's just stupid. It doesn't make sense. It's not fair on everyone else. Like, why was everyone else got to be screwed over by this stupid trinket? It's not actually on, Blizz. Like, nobody agrees with your shitty logic here. It's not fair on PvP. PvE wouldn't have it, and everyone just cry for ages. We moan and nothing happens. Like, and you haven't got an excuse because you say you want the same thing that we do, but you don't do it, and it's just not on. Okay, on to the next bit, right? So, they changed how Blink Strike works. Basically, it's a good nerf to hunters in their burst, so that it's going to do damage over time rather than a thing. But it's always going to be on, and so basically, you know, Pet's already hurt pretty hard, and you're like, what the hell, the Pet soloed me when he popped Bestial Wrath. That's going to happen again, right? It's going to happen worse, though, right? Because it's basically, they're going to do 50% increased damage, and so you're going to just hurt really bad all the time. But you're not going to get hit by a big Blink Strike as well as your Power Shot and get one shot. So that's good and bad at the same time, because it's like when it's a too good of a buff for Beastmasters, and it's like, I wouldn't mind it, except it just one-shots people. Like, they're going to just hit their pets, going to do all their damage, and they're going to sit there AFK. And I don't know. Like, it's just going to be one silencing shot onto a healer, and they're going to pop Stampede, and everything is going to fall over, and I don't know. What are you thinking, Blizz? What are you thinking? We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. It might be alright, but then at the same time, it's like, you're probably going to pop your if you have any AoE CC as your class, you're going to use it straight away on that Blink Strikes, instead Blink Strike is called now. But yeah, you're going to use it straight away to stop them if it does as much damage as I think it's going to do, because they already hit really hard for me. And then the change to Power Shot. So they basically they basically cut all of the numbers down by quarter. So 15 focus down from 20, and then you've got 45-second cooldown down from 60, and then you've got 2.2 second cast down from 3-second cast. And then you go on, and it's like 600% weapon damage and 300% to the people in between you and the target, instead of 400 and 800, right? So those numbers would be fine, except if you think about what it does now and what it's going to do, it's going to be a 2.2 second cast. So it's going to be like, you're going to be cutting it short, because if you're on a global and then they start casting it, you've got the next global after that. If you aren't CC'd, you have to disarm it. And or use an instant CC, otherwise you're screwed. You can't interrupt it or anything, so you don't have any low cooldown thing you can use on it. It's got to be a big long cooldown thing, so you've got to take that into account. Or you've got to pop a big defensive cooldown. But it's going to, so it's like they took it from 250k crits, and they've dropped it down to maybe 175k crit. And I wouldn't mind that 175k crit, except you can't really do much to counter it. If you thought about that, like, you know, on a Chaos Bolt, I wouldn't mind that hitting for it, because, you know, I have a low cooldown kick, and most classes do have some form of kick or on a low cooldown, max maybe like 45 seconds or something. You know, I think like I think Shadow Priest probably take it the worst and stuff, but most classes have something they can use to stop it. And so I'm not, you know, I don't mind it, like, in the sense it's like, yeah, that'd be fine, because it's like, you know, you've got a melee class on your team, you can stop them. Or if you're a ranged class, you can just line of sight, because you're normally like further away from the enemy, so because you don't have to worry about being close, and then you can just go behind a pillar or something like that. You know, it takes a little while to cast. So, you know, considering those things, basically it's going to hit really hard still, but be on a less of a cooldown, and it's not going to one-shot as much or whatever. They basically took hunters and said, we don't want you to one-shot as much, but we're going to give you everything on a lower cooldown, so you're just going to put out pressure. Like, your pressure is going to be a lot, and, you know, like, most disarms are 1 minute cooldown, and they're going to have it on 45-second cooldown, so they're going to go for the first power shot, and you disarm it, and then the second power shot, they're going to get off, and you ain't going to be able to disarm the power shot, and so you have to use proper CC to stop them. And so it means you have to use an instant cast one. So if you're not someone who's got like a Hammer of Justice, or as a Monk of Paralysis, or, you know, a Death Coil or whatever, you're going to be screwed. Like, just flat out, you're screwed. Like, they are going to hit you hard, and you ain't going to be able to do anything. And I don't know, I just don't understand Blizzard's logic on it. They need to nerf the damage numbers by half. And then keep it as it was before. So, like, on a 1 minute cooldown. Actually, no, let's say what it is now with 1 minute cooldown. It still costs 20 focus and has a 3-second cast time. And I know people are like, oh yeah, but Glaive Toss does more for PvE. And I'm going to tell you again, PvE and PvP are two different things. If they want to buff PvE, they buff some PvE numbers specific to PvE. Stuff that you don't even use in PvP. I still want to sit on that they need to make a move for each thing that basically affects PvE or PvP, and you just, like, you don't use the move in the other thing. So it's like, you do in PvP, and it's like, alright, you've got a special, you know, power shot in PvP or whatever. It's like, alright, you've got a button that you push that increases the damage or whatever, and it's like, in PvE it does a certain number, and then in PvP it does a certain different number. And that is how you scale things. You know, it's like, against bosses, this is how much damage you can do in this aspect of Dragonhawk, and then in PvP you have aspect of the giant dragon man, and then it's like, it's two different things, and it's like, one does PvP damage, one does PvE. Now scale things separately and stop screwing over the one thing for the other thing. It's not on, Blizz. No one likes your shitty logic. And if you're gonna moan still about, oh, but some people don't like the change it happening all the time, or it's like, we don't want to have to balance two different things. It's like, what, so don't have the game balance at all then? Is that, like, your logic? Is that really what you want to come down to? So it's sort of like you saying, like, look, you know, it's like, rather than me cut the cake with, you know, in the same shape or whatever, and so, you know, I know that the, you know, the amount of cake that you both have, because I can compare it properly, is the same. Instead of doing that, I'm just gonna cut one circle and one triangle, and it's like, they're never gonna be the same, because I'm too retarded to actually fucking cut the cake the same way with the same thing, so we can balance them because they're both separate. Instead, I'm just gonna mess it up and go all crazy. And that's what Blizzard's like, and I don't understand the logic. Like, Blizz, these aren't hard things to do. Like, any good game developer, and I'm gonna say it, good game developer, right? Because this is like, I know it's just like always too much time and all this crap, right? Just make two separate things and just make them, it's easy to balance then. And it's like, if PvP's too crazy damage or whatever for a certain class, you can go in there and you nerf the one damage in PvP only, and you've sorted the whole thing out. And Jesus Christ, you know what? Everyone will love you for it, because then we won't be screwed by these big numbers and stuff like that. And God, it would be so nice. Seriously, I think everyone wants that, and Blizzard don't care. And like, and I honestly think that. I think they don't care. I think they like it being unbalanced. You know, otherwise they'd have nerfed mages 2 seasons ago. And I know people are like, oh, and mages aren't that overpowered. If you say that they're not overpowered, then you're mad. And it's probably because there's so many hunters that mages aren't, like, completely destroying everything. And because hunters smash them, because they dispel ice barrier. And then they have to use flame glow. And then flame glow cuts out a lot of their auto attacks, but then they still get power shotted, so they have to ice block early and then ice block again. But without that class there, they die hardly at all. Like, there's no point in going on a mage kind of thing. And so that's basically Blizzard's logic on it. Okay, they also had, hunters had some changes to Beast Cleave, which is a talent basically that makes them do AoE damage. So I don't know, like, maybe they're basically going to get an increase in the damage on AoE. So it might actually mean, because they basically doubled it, that people try to cleave you down as a hunter. And I don't know if that's going to be the case, but it might be. And it'll be annoying. But basically, your multi-shot increases your pet's damage by 60% up from 30. Yeah, so that's the thing. I don't know. It makes your multi-shot cost 20% less focus. And I don't know whether that's a big number, but if you like think about it like this, if your pet's going to hit 60% additional damage for 5 seconds, and you pop that thing that I said before, with, you know, you take Blink Strike and you use that, they've got 30% increased damage, you pop your Bestial Wrath and you watch your pet solo someone, that's going to be a joke. So yeah, I don't know, because they nerfed Blink Strike, but this is basically, you know, probably even worse if you've got a Smart Hunter. I don't know if they're going to be able to use it, whether you can actually go for a multi-shot off, but if you can, they're going to do it, and it's going to hurt. And they buffed Marksman, but Marksman's probably now about the right balance to be with everyone else. With this buff, it's probably going to be the right amount with everyone else. But take that into account, nobody's going to go it, because you've got a 1 minute trinket, right? And it needs to be 2 minutes. I know, like, every hunter would moan about it. It needs to be 2 minutes. Every other anti-trinket, you know, get out of cooldown thing is at least 1.5 minutes at least. So at least make it 1.5 minutes. Why is it, like, so far away from everything else? It also increases damage and stuff. So why is it so far away from everyone else? But move it up, please. Like, it's not hard. You know, no one thinks it's a good idea to have a trinket on that low of a cooldown, apart from some idiot that's playing hunter, right? If I was to guess what the majority of the people are playing on the Blizzard office right now, I'd say mages, rogues, hunters. You know, I'd sit on that. I'd probably say a Resto Shaman in there as well, because they are getting by so nicely. So, probably the best healer by a mile. Probably, you know, Priest is pretty close to him, but only because of Fug Cleave. So, yeah, I just don't understand it. Okay, now we're going to move on to another thing. This is going to be a long Blizz Let's Chat if you haven't realised already. I've got a few more things I want to talk about. So, you know, just enjoy it while you get a longer Blizz Let's Chat. I do get moaned at to do longer ones, so enjoy this. So, Windwalker Monks got a Rising Sun Kick buff, right? It's now going to do 20% increased damage, up from 10%. So, basically, what they've done here, if they said, look, Stance of the Fierce Tiger, right, we're going to nerf that, and then next patch, we're going to buff Rising Sun Kick. Why would you buff the thing that relies on expertise? Like, this is not actually a damage buff. It's as much as what everyone could consider, because in PvP, if you get parried or dodged, you're screwed. You that's all your damage gone. It's the same thing as a hunter, right? They got to cast Cobra Shot, and if they miss Cobra Shot, they only get to do auto attacks. Because that's literally how much damage you do. Because it's going to be 20% of your damage instead of... right, I wouldn't mind if, like, if you got dodged or parried, it doesn't go on cooldown. That would make sense to me. It's like, alright, okay, I get where you're coming from. It's like, you know, now it doesn't matter, like, it just, you've just got to Rising Sun Kick again, and it's fine. You've just got to get the chi back. It's not too big of a a deal, but you lose your cooldown, and you're screwed. And because it's 20% damage, you do 20% less damage. It's like somebody popping a mini shield wall. Yeah, like a mini shield wall, 20% damage reduction, mini shield wall, every time they dodge or parry your Rising Sun Kick. And that's every 8 seconds they have a chance to do that. Like, that's madness. If it's nothing else, that's all I can describe it as. It's mad. Why is it not, you know, remove all of the damage buff from Rising Sun Kick and whack it all on Stance of Fierce Tiger, please? That would be nice. So it does 30% increased damage on Stance of Fierce Tiger, and that's it, just flat, and we don't have to worry about it. I don't know, it's probably to do with, like, them wanting to not have Mistweavers get buffed too much, but, you know, to be honest, like, I'd rather you put it on Tiger Power, so it's like, Tiger Power increases your damage, because then it doesn't activate the cooldown, or just make a separate button, and we'll push the separate button. Everyone will be happy to have that separate button to push instead. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I want that a separate button. I'll have a separate button, like, put a buff just for us. You just push the button and it'll increase our damage for 30 seconds or something like that, like Ferals have. That would be nice, because then we don't get screwed, because that's what you call it. It's called screwed, unless you're going to just give us Rising Sun Kicks immune to parry, dodge, and block, and whatever else you can consider. You know, it's just immune to that. Then I'd be alright. I wouldn't mind so much. Okay, now on to Paladin buff, right? So, they gave Retribution. Sword of the Light now increases the damage deal with two-handed melee weapons by 30%, up from 15%. Alright, so Vanguard said about this on his stream, and I wasn't sure about it, but he said it's basically an 8% increase in damage. Rep Paladins have the biggest burst in the game probably right now. Like the biggest burst, bar Frost Mages, but you know, I've said many a time they're overpowered. So why are they doing this? Can you understand it? Like, because I can't understand it. Like, we need resilience buffs. Everyone needs resilience, but like they need to reduce the damage coming in for every class in the game by another about 10-20%, and probably nerf healing as well by about the same. So the game, you know, your health pool is significant, so you can't get global basically, but your healing, you know, the healer will get behind on healing still, and that's basically where you want it to be. So it's like, it's harder to top someone, but it's also harder to kill someone. And that's where you want it to sit. And right now, nowhere near close. Like, it's just stupid. And I don't understand it. And, oh my god. Like, but they buffed Ret Paladins doing, like, stupidest burst. Shamans as well. Buff Shaman damage. Why are you buffing Shaman damage, Blizz? They're in the same spot. Maybe buff damage reduction, which you did do. 10% damage reduction, that's about right. Why would you buff their damage, though? Like, they have the most damage in the game. Beast Cleave, next patch. Mark my words, gonna be crazy. Just absolutely crazy. Like, also, Hunter, Ret Paladin as well. Crazy. They can, Paladins can already kind of sacrifice people out of, like, sheeps and stuff like that. Like, their partners, like their healer or whatever. So they can just get them out of the CC. And Jesus Christ, it's just going to be mad. I can't even explain it. It's just going to be stupid. What other things I was going to talk to you about? This is going to be me just trying to remember what I was going to say to you about. Okay, so they didn't buff affliction damage, but they need to put something there like, is it Malfic Grass they use now instead of Drain Life? But whatever it is, the channeled spell needs to increase your dot damage on the, so it's like single target damage basically by like 5% roughly, I think, something like that, and that'll put them in a good place for affliction rather than what they are now, which is kind of not anywhere close. And you know, oh, this is another thing that I thought was funny. So a baseline, and I'm hoping they remove it from the talent, but basically the rage generation that they used to, well, that they have on for warriors, they're basically just going to chuck it into base for arms and fury. So now it's like whenever you struck by a stun or immobilize effect, you generate 15 rage over 10 seconds. So second wind, like the basically the thing they removed from it, they just given it flat to warriors now. So they basically increase warrior damage, and they're gonna basically make sitting in defensive stance, unless they remove it from the talent, they're gonna make it sitting in defensive stance fine again. And I don't understand that. Like, they're gonna be still, like, they'll be okay anyway. Like, they won't be crap during defensive stance, but they'll be okay. Whereas right now they're crap, which is where they should be. Like, I say crap, basically you're not doing damage because you're taking less damage. Like, that's the trade-off. Like, you're reducing your damage by 30%, so you take 20% less damage or whatever. That's where it should be. Actually, it's 15%, but like, they're gonna buff it up anyway, so, you know, back to 25%. So you should be losing like roughly about 10%, because basically, like, you've got a healer healing you or whatever, and you're playing defensive, and you're meant to be using that time during defensive stance to get back into the game. So you're trying to get peels so you can get healed up, and then you go back offensive. That's where you're meant to sit. And it's not the case, really, is it? It's miles from that, and I don't understand it. Like, Blizzard aren't doing that, and it's kind of frustrating. Like, I may sit on my own on this, but Blizz, like, that's not how you're meant to have. You know, that's what it's meant to be. Dancing. You know, you switch in for a benefit, not you know, just like to be equal. It's like you're going in because you don't want to die, and then you're making it like a bad choice for the enemy to be sitting on you. And then if they train you, like, your partner can then do free damage, and you know, you're going to basically be increasing your partner's damage by because you're taking less damage. You're still doing some damage, but your partner just free roam just to smash everything, and that's what you're meant to be doing. That's not the case though, is it? Because, you know, like, that, you know, your partner's doing, so basically you're increasing your team's damage by about 10% by going in defensive stance if they go on you, in a way, and that seems a bit weird to me. So I don't know what Blizz is thinking. I don't know. Like, maybe that's what they want. Maybe they just want warriors to be buffed again. But I still think there's still a few classes that need changes. Like, Shaman's getting 10% damage reduction buff. Good move, right? And I think that moves them into a good place. I think Affliction needs a bit of a damage buff, maybe 5%. It's not a lot. It's hardly. It's like they just need to get into that pressure threshold again, so that having dots up on everyone is scary for the enemy team, and then it like starts to the healer starts to lose their mana, so it's like a timed game, and then that's fine. And then they're in a good place. And apart from that, I think rep paladins need a little bit of a damage reduction. Not a lot, maybe 5%, not tons. Like, their healing's great, and that's why they're there for, kind of thing. You know, if they're healing a partner, then they're doing really good. And then if their partner is, like, peeling for them, then they're fine, kind of, if they have that extra little bit of damage reduction. Just basically enough to make people not want to sit on them. And I think the same for monks as well. Like, they need to have something to stop people wanting to sit on them, because they go onto them until they get Touch of Karma, they come off. And then as soon as Touch of Karma's down, they train them till they're dead, right? Against, other classes, though, it'll be like, all right, we don't really want to do that because, or whatever, we're going to switch again. Like, but no, against monks, they just train. And obviously monks can run away, but you don't, like, it's sort of like you would be in a fight, and then they switch to you, so you've got to run away. So you start to run away, and then they switch straight back away to the other guy that they was on. And so you never do any damage as a monk until your Touch of Karma comes back up. And then when you got the Touch of Karma back up, they do damage to you, get rid of... sit on you till Touch of Karma's gone again, and then you're bouncing back in and out again. And yeah, Windwalker monks are fast, but that is not how you're meant to have to play the game. You should be able to toe with people for quite a while, and it just be when they, like, lock out, CC your healers when you need to be scared. Not the other way around, where it's like your healer's scared just because you're in the fight. Like, that's not fair. Like, I don't understand Blizzard's logic on it. I reckon what they could do with doing is cutting the cooldown in half on Touch of Karma, and cutting the bubble in half on Touch of Karma, and doubling the damage it does. So then what happens is you don't want to go on him, because so basically the damage would be the same as it does now. So you don't go on him because you don't want to take the damage, and then he's got a shield as well for like half his health. So it's a pretty big shield. And then if they was to come off you, whatever, you've got another like fortifying brew, whatever, to keep you going until Touch of Karma comes back up again. And then so after then you would be about right when they could start to get a kill on you by CCing your healer. And that's what normal classes are at. So it's like against certain comps you have like diffuse magic you can use, right? Dampen Harm does shit all in PvP, but then you have healing elixirs to like that sort of keeps you in balance roughly. So it like tops you up a bit when your healer gets a mini CC or whatever, or when you first get in the chain or something. But that's about it. Like you can't sit on it, and also you have to waste Tiger Eye Brew, which means your damage is gone, and that's also another problem. So I think they need to change that. Like that's where I'd say the core problem is. And so yeah, like also obviously like I said, the lightning shield change, I think that's a good one. Also the nerf shuriken toss, but basically to make it so it's not, you can't just play a ranged rogue. It's sort of like it just gives you allows you to get some damage out until you get back into a fight. So they basically doubled the energy cost and doubled the damage, which means they're going to hit really hard. So it's sort of more like going to be like a cooldown thing. I don't know if that's going to be in a good place, but it's going to mean that you can't deadly throw. Because you're going to get 2 shuriken tosses off, and then it's gone. So you need to already have a combo point, or you need to wait for 20 more energy until you can shuriken toss again, whatever. I think it's 20 or 30 energy you got to wait for, and then you can shuriken toss again, and then you're right, and then you've got them with your shuriken toss. But yeah, I think that's the thing. Also, the demonic gateway change, I think that's a really good change. Like, fair play on Blizz for that. Like, I don't know if it's going to be able to be healed. If it can be healed, I think it's shit. And I also think that maybe they could just reduce the cast time on the demonic gateway if it can't be healed. If it can be healed, I reckon they need to just keep the cast time as it is now, because it needs to just be able to be killed so it's not OP. But if you can heal it, then it doesn't matter. Like, they're just going to heal the crap out of it. So what the hell? Like, for the enemy team, it's sort of like a pet. You can't kill the pets. Like for a warlock, so why would you be able to kill this? It just makes no sense, I guess. So yeah, I suppose I best move on to my question. And this question comes in from a guy called Daito. And he says, "Hey Crone, I found your channel off one of Swifty's videos, so that was nice, and I'm going to subscribe. And a few questions about playing a Windwalker monk, because I myself am one. And I just can't seem to pump out decent damage. In arenas, I'm always lowest damage, and I don't do too well in BGs either. I was going to completely reforge the mastery, but I'm not sure. I don't really have the gold for gems or enchants right now. What is your rotation? What do you do to increase damage?" Other than that, just the burst stuff like Tiger Eye Brew and trinkets, it would be great if you could help me out. And so, my tips for him and anyone else that wants to know is to make sure you're global capped. What I mean by global capped is every time you push in your first button, this is to go for PvPE as well. There's some of these things will transfer over. So when you push one button, right, obviously you know there's a global cooldown, right? But let's say that you push the button and then you push the next button next time you think the global cooldown's off, right? Let's say there's a tiny gap in between those, which there's going to be. So why would you leave that tiny gap? Like, there's a potential that you could fill in that gap. Let's say you don't and you screw yourself over or whatever, and you like end up back on your normal one because, you know, it's pretty fast, but whatever. But so let's say you push the one button, and then as soon as this gets to about the time that the next button comes up, you just start mashing the key. So you're pushing it a lot more times, but it's like closer into the gap. So you might hit it exactly on the right time, and also the server, if there's a change in your MS, it's also going to update. So let's say like out of 1,000 hits on the first version where you push the button and then as soon as you think the cooldown's back up, you push it again. And then on the second version, you push it and you mash the buttons. Let's say you just got about another 20, 30 hits onto it. So you get 1,030 and the first guy got 1,000. That's still a big increase in the number of things. So you're getting like 2-3% increase in damage. So just overall. So just remember that. Mash your keys. And people say like, oh, that's really annoying. Mash your keys. It might like annoy your fingers a little bit when you're first starting to get used to it because you're not used to pushing your keys as much. Same goes for using it on your Naga. Mash the buttons. Try and get in as many keys as you can. Like if you just think about it, it's repeating. So it's like as faster you can go, the better off you are to getting a smaller gap so that you can get increased damage. Also, the MS also affects it a big amount as well. Okay, so the next tip, right? Try and keep disable on your target. And this is so that you, most people don't think of it like this, but let's say they get away from you, it'll take you less time to get back to them. And if they've got you slowed, then obviously it's the same sort of thing. But you get to them, and you're going to be auto-attacking more as they slowly walk away from you. So let's say they slowly walk away, you're going to be able to keep going auto-attacks off for a longer amount of time because it's going to be a shorter thing. Even if you're not doing, like, buttons, whatever, so your global cooldown, so it's like, yeah, I hit him on the last one just before. Also, it allow you to get off one extra hit maybe, and that's going to increase your damage as well. Also, I'd advise if you're going to use Fist of Fury to just do damage and whatever, you're getting the stun off as well, rather than just using it for the stun. Try and use it when you're low on energy because it'll normally mean like your blackout kicks and stuff will do more damage if you're from behind than your Fist of Fury will over the time. Obviously, it's like different with chi and stuff, whatever, if you're trying to get out the most out of your chi. But like if you use your energy until you get low and keep 3 chi just as you reach the end, and then use Fist of Fury, your energy will fill back up. So you're going to be full energy when you, or more or less when you get back out. But obviously your Fist of Fury, and then you get more out of your Fist of Fury because the energy be full, so you can start jabbing straight away after, rather than using it when you've got full energy and then it'd be kind of like wasted because you could have just kept using blackout kicks as long as you're from behind. And if you're in toe-to-toe, face-to-face, it normally means that they're hitting you, and then if they're hitting you, then you want the heal, so it's kind of like a balance off anyway, so just think of it like that. Obviously, keep Rising Sun Kick up, and keep Tiger Power up at all costs. Like, most people, like, you know, think that's like, you know, they sometimes drops off, even for me, it drops off sometimes and I don't notice it, but try and keep up Tiger Power, try and keep up Rising Sun Kick. I don't know what else to say. Like, peel for yourself. So, like, if you're, let's say, like, somebody's on you or whatever, and you think they might, like, let's say there's a hunter and he's shooting you, right? Rather than just take the damage because he might stun you, just paralyze him and then keep going on his rogue or whatever. And then so you're doing more damage to the rogue. The rogue might stun you, but the hunter didn't, and then so you've done more damage to the rogue. Obviously, if the rogue stuns you, then he stopped you kind of in the thing, but you've got one less chance because there's not 2 people that can stun you, it's only 1. And so just paralysis on them. Only at high health. When they're getting to lower health, you want to kind of save it for a healer or whatever, but it's such a short cooldown, like only 15 seconds, that you may as well do it on him. Also, another way of doing more damage, but it's not really damage, is to against someone. Obviously, like, since it changed to Spear Hand Strike, you don't really want to use it for silence. And people don't really realize that. Like, there's no point unless it's really close and like you want to get like in that clutch little bit of silence just to like finish them off. So, or your partner might like be able to do some damage or whatever, and you've got to stop them doing a heal, and you like kick them from in front, and then they get a 2-second silence or whatever as well. It's not, you don't want to ever aim to get the silence so much anymore. You just want to kick them on a cast and do it from behind, because you don't want to cap your partner silence unless you got a partner who doesn't have silence. But you get my idea. You don't want to cap them on the thing, so you want to do it from behind or whatever. But let's say you know, there is a healer and he's casting a heal, right? You stopping that heal is more important than you doing damage, because he's probably going to heal for more than you can do damage to. Mostly is the same with instant cast, because like if you kick him on his heal, he's going to do, like, let's say that's 8 seconds worth of healing you've stopped doing him in things. So let's just look at it like this. You've got 8 seconds where you're doing damage to him. Actually, I think it's even less now. Like, I think it's even like 6 seconds. I can't remember. I think they changed it. But it's 6 seconds of damage, and where he doesn't do any healing. So it's 6 seconds extra worth of damage overall. So if you just look at it like that, that's like, you get to hit him for 6 seconds and he can't do anything. And obviously his teammates can help him out and stuff, but he can't do anything to heal himself. Like, everyone only has one healing school. Like, you know, a shadow priest, whatever, is like, he can heal and he can use shadow spells. So it's like, if it's a disc priest, they can fear you, because that's a shadow school, but they can't heal. And so obviously, you know, he might fear you, but your partner can still do damage for that time. And so it's both you and your partner can do more damage. So make sure you aim to lock him out on a school. It's kind of hard sometimes to know when he's going to do it, but like, wait till he gets right to the last, like really close to the end of his cast, and then do it and stuff like that, and then that'll give you the max up time, unless you think he's going to juke you, and then just don't bother. It tends to be weird. If you think they're going to juke you, just use a stun instead, and that works really, really well. But yeah, just try and peel for yourself, whatever, so you don't get CC'd so much by using CC on the enemy. Use your remember to always, you know, try and lock them out on school. Keep your Rising Sun kick up, keep your Tiger Power up, and I don't know, just try and stay active with your cooldowns as well, using your Tiger Eye Brew and stuff like that. I think that's like all I can say. Is just like, you know, also remember to, it's like, if you're not doing enough damage, it might be like, it's a lot of the time it's like, not that you're not doing enough damage, but you know, you've obviously got a partner with you, so maybe they're lacking, and maybe you should show them this video just to help them out. I don't know whether, you know, the skills, some of them are transferable over, but also just like, remember, it's like, it might be that you know, you need heals and stuff, and that you're losing, right? And it's ultimately about winning and losing. So it's like, you might not feel like you're doing enough damage, but you might be in the end, and that's what it counts down to. So it's like, make sure you're keeping in line of sight your healer to have him keep you up. And then if you're topped as well, your healer can join in. So you're basically, your team's doing more damage. You might not be doing more damage, but your team's doing more damage because your healer can chuck in a few damaging spells. You know, like a druid might Moonfire or whatever, you know, like druid might Flame Shock, and you might be like, oh, that's hardly any damage. So like, but oh, if it all adds up, everything adds up. It might be like they live on 1 health, and if the druid had chucked a Moonfire out, he's dead. But he didn't, so he's screwed, you know, like, and then he just bubbles at 1 health, and then he heals to full, and you're screwed. So just remember, like, I think that's hits about roughly enough of the notes. If you have any more questions or stuff, whatever, it's like, I try and help. I don't know, like, you could look at my armory on my undead monk, and you can see like what I'm doing right now with like stuff. I think I'm missing some weapon enchants and stuff like that, but just, you could look at roughly what I've gone for in gems and stuff. I actually have a enchant and gem video coming up soon, so you can check that out. And I guess that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, please do remember to thumbs up. It does help loads. You would be surprised. Maybe one day I could do this properly and like professionally, like get paid to do this. Obviously right now it counts more of a hobby than anything else, but you know, the more support you guys give, the more you comment and help out the show and all the other stuff I do, means that I'm, you know, one day might be able to do this for money, which sounds really weird. That, you know, actually like money, well, I say money, like I've got adverts, whatever, but I'm not actually got paid yet, and it's been like 2 months, so you know, that's the equivalent, and you have to get over $50, which is about £30 or something like that, before you can even get paid that. So I don't know, I don't even know when that's going to come through. Eventually I should have people watching enough adverts that I can actually get something. But yeah, just anything. If you don't like the video, dislike the video. If you like the video, like the video. Like, it might sound weird, but if you rate a video, then it gives it more exposure, whether you rate it positively or negatively. And it also shows me which way like the show should go. Like if this is bad or whatever, if you disliked it being longer, hit the dislike, and then I'll understand. Like I'll be like, oh, okay, so I need to make them shorter again or whatever. This is just a one-off. I'm probably gonna keep them shorter unless I get a stupidly high demand for longer videos. But all the same, have a great day. Really do love you all, and I will see you again soon. Goodbye.